Loaves for Learning, the program that makes it easy to earn money for your school. Enjoy Country Hearth and Village Hearth all-natural breads, buns, bagels, and more. Then save the UPC from the package for your school to collect and redeem. Each is worth 5 cents and can be used for books, computers, sports, music, whatever your school needs. Up to $10,000 a year. Learn more at loavesforlearning.com. Country Hearth and Village Hearth breads, baking our best for you.
Thank you. Stand by, please. Here. We're going to do this. We're going to do this right if it's goes.
Divine Intervention is online at yourportdodge.com. On Twitter at JMike1400.
Sometimes the stuff just fakes out an old guy like me. I'm sorry, Mr. Rob Jones is on the air with me. I shouldn't say I'm sorry, but I'm sorry to break the news, Mr. Jones. We do not accept resignations from guys named Rob Jones. We do accept resignations from guys named Jones, but not you.
Well, there's only 2 guys in the company.
I figured you'd catch that on.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go there either. I shouldn't even said that. But anyway, Rob Jones is our guest. Been our news and sports director for the last, 2.5 years?
Yeah. Well, not 2.5, but 2 and some change. Yeah. 27 months, I think, exactly.
And, it took us a few weeks, maybe a couple months to get used to Rob because he was, he had that Southern thing going on in his voice. But I have taught broadcasting. I've studied communication. And Rob has all the tools to effectively communicate his message in news and in sports. He has, Nevin and I and Randy talk about it, he has an encyclopedic knowledge of sports going back before he was even born. So we're losing a big asset here, and I know you want to go on home or get closer to home. And the way you've described your next opportunity out there in South Carolina, it sounds like a great opportunity. So, Rob, I guess I can just say the best of luck to you, and we're all going to miss you.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a really nice run here for me. The people have been in the community have been great to me. They've been very welcoming. And honestly, I didn't know how that was going to be when I came here and kind of how I was going to be received, because I knew I was going to stand out differently, and I didn't know if that was going to be positive or negative. That's the court of public opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I've been embraced. Never really been treated like an outsider by the community. So I have a lot of people to thank for that, and I really appreciate that. And, I came in with some goals in mind to do some certain things here, and we accomplished a lot of the things that I wanted to do in the time I was here. So very proud of some of the growth we've had and what we've done here. And, it's an opportunity for me to go back home and to kind of take a step up, working in some bigger markets and working at the college level in a play-by-play capacity, and make a little bit more money. So when you weigh out the pros and the cons, you would really think that there wouldn't be much to consider, but there was, more to consider because of how big the connection between me and the community have been, because of the way the community's really embraced
a lot of people think a lot of you here, Rob. I think you'll always have a second home here. So what you're talking, they actually play football in South Carolina.
Yeah. They play it down there.
They play a little bit of it, do they?
Yeah, in that part of the country, they play a little bit of it.
I've we've talked about this before, but I spent a couple of years out on North Carolina's Outer Banks.
Yeah, you told me.
And I have, but I'm just repeating the story now. That the consultants, God forbid the radio ever invented consultants, are usually people who didn't make it in the radio business.
Or focus groups.
Or focus groups, for God's sake. But anyway, the consultant we were working with was Rick Sklar, who's a very famous name in radio. He really created or helped create Top 40 Radio.
Okay.
He and a guy by the name of Bill Chenault, or Bill Drake. And Drake and Chenault really created it. But anyway, the point being, is they were always highly complimentary of me because I had what they thought was a multi-demographic major market voice, which I thought that was cool. But they also, and this happened with consultants like Rick Sklar and all across the South when I was there, they said he doesn't have a Southern accent.
Non-regional dialect.
Non-regional, yeah. And I went, I'm in North Carolina. And later I went to Arkansas. And you think this is a good thing I don't speak like the people that I'm talking to? That's unusual.
That's the radio business.
That is.
And, there's always been this kind of underlying for lack of a better term, discriminatory attitude against the Southern accent. I mean, if you flip around and you listen to a lot of people on a national basis, there aren't many people with a Southern accent. It almost at one point early on in my career, it felt like you could have a New York accent, you could have a Boston accent, you could have a Chicago accent, you could have any other accent you wanted. But if you had a Southern accent, there were certain preconceptions and preconceived notions that went along
That's right.
with it.
You know,
And now that mold is starting to be broken. You look at guys like Dave Ramsey. I mean, Dave Ramsey's from Tennessee. I mean, he's just as country as I am, if not more. You look at guys on ESPN like Marty Smith and Ryan McGee, who are guys that I really look up to and admire because they're North Carolina guys who both sound like they're from the country too, who made it on a major level, on a major network.
you bet.
So, you know, that mold is starting to be broken, and I really appreciate the people here for kind of keeping an open mind to that. And, you know, I'm conscious of the fact that I have that accent, but a lot of people actually like it because it's something different and it stands out. And, you know, these consultants and these executive types and these focus groups, Mike, what they really know about what's really going on in connection with the people and the talent that do radio could fill up a thimble.
Yeah.
It really could. And most of these people have told me from day one that I wasn't going to be able to cut it or whatever. And I've always taken that as a chip on the shoulder, and I've used that to motivate me.
Long ago, radio people used to say you need to speak like the people who are listening to you so they can relate to you better. And I still believe that, by the way. You know, there is even the people in North Carolina. I think I've told you this before. Even the people of North Carolina didn't want to be on the air with me sometime if they were from interior North Carolina, farm country. And they'd say, no, you don't want this country voice on the radio. And I said, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to a couple of school teachers, educated women, very bright girls. They talked country, as they say in North Carolina. Maybe they say the same thing in South Carolina. I don't know. But, oh, no, we talk country. Where do you think we are? Even in Raleigh, the biggest city in North Carolina, or Charlotte, which I understand they have a university there, you know, even a basketball team. I mean, everybody speaks Southern, and I think they should. You know, if you want to bring somebody else in with a neutral accent, that's fine. I'm just saying from a radio marketing standpoint, I don't know what changed the thinking that we should have one kind of voice on the air. I don't know. Yeah. I have never seen the market research to back that up. But some of the consultants got it in their head.
Well, and, you know, there's this thing that they have, you know, where they want you to be contemporary. I've heard from 50 different people, well, you should be more contemporary. And then I asked, well, what do you mean by that? Well, and then they dance around it. Nobody has a clear-cut answer of what contemporary is really supposed to mean, because that's subject to the opinion of the person who is basically saying, well, this is contemporary. There's no clear-cut answer to that. So, you know, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I am some people's shot of whiskey. And here in Fort Dodge, I've been able to be that.
You sure have, buddy. You sure have. As I say, it took a little while, a few weeks, maybe a couple months, to everybody get used to it. Until, and this is important, and I'm not trying to, you know, grease you all up just before you leave. They discovered that they discovered the underlying intelligence behind your voice. You have a very, again, I taught broadcasting. I've studied speech and communication a lot. You were able to communicate some pretty complicated thoughts in a very brief and concise way. Ronald Reagan had that gift. President Ronald Reagan had that gift. I've looked at Ronald Reagan, and he has made complex thoughts and feelings sound acceptable to the general public. There have been a lot of bright people who can't, because they get all covered up. They get all caught up in the topic. They're professionals. They're experts in the field. And
which I'm not.
Yeah, I'd say you're a sports expert, buddy.
Well, I may be an expert there, and I can kind of.
I think you are. I think you can own that one.
Those things, but for most of what I talk about in kind of a basic overview kind of way in terms of delivering the news, and, you know, being concise is a big part of being a news journalist. And, you know, I have a journalism degree. You know, I have a college education. So just because I talk slow does not mean that I'm any less intelligent than anybody else.
No.
And I think for people who come from where I come from, you know, we're always kind of looking to prove that, because there is that preconceived notion.
There is a
sometimes.
prejudice that people who talk South are uneducated, and that is in the South. I mean,
everywhere.
The headquarters of the radio station I worked in was in Atlanta, hot Atlanta, you know, a big cosmopolitan, sophisticated city. Well, we better not put them on the air. They sound country.
Let me go right there on that about Atlanta. You know, they want to be so sophisticated and cosmopolitan, but you look at Turner Broadcasting, TBS, based there in Atlanta, and you look at the biggest numbers that they ever did with ratings, and I can guarantee you, I can tell you what they are: Atlanta Braves baseball, professional wrestling, and Andy Griffith. About three of the most country things that you can have are the biggest draws that TBS ever had on that network. And that's not me saying it. That's proof is in the pudding. That can be researched.
Those are big things here, Rob.
They're big things everywhere.
That's right. That's right. Don Imus, a great radio announcer. He's dead now. But he was a very successful radio announcer, and he was on MSNBC before a racial thing blew up on him. But Don Imus was in New York City.
Yeah.
And as bridge music, by bridge music, I mean there'd be a talk segment, and then we'd have a little music until the commercial break or news break or whatever.
Yeah.
So Don would play country music. And in New York City, and everybody was telling him, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. This is New York City. What, are you crazy? It worked. You know, a lot of time these marketers and researchers and these huge brains that are supposed to tell us how to operate a radio station don't really know what the hell
they don't really know. That's the thing, is they don't really know, because most of them didn't come up through programming like we did.
That's right.
They came up through the marketing end or through the executive end, because they've got more degrees than a thermometer, as they would say, where I come from. They didn't come up through the programming end. And the only way to really figure out what you're doing with programming is to do it. The things that I do well, I figured out how to do those by not doing them well early on in other stages. You have to make the mistakes to learn what it is that you should and shouldn't be doing. And so for me, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to take people who don't really have that experience and let's listen to them and lean on them in terms of what we do, and make every decision based on what they think we should do, when really it's few and far between that they actually have a grasp on reality.
Well, I heard over at the courthouse this morning, we had a big, long discussion on safety at the courthouse. And I had one position and others had another. But I heard that we should always trust experts. I understand that point of view. But those who are advocates, those who want a particular position advanced, they will employ experts. Here's a PhD in gun violence or in abortion. Or whatever.
Somebody that backs up their point.
Exactly. And that expert will report to us. But that's not an expert opinion. That's a hired gun. There's a big difference there. Rob, I could go on with you for a long time. I know you've got to get out of here in just a few minutes. You made some friends here. You made lasting impressions. What are you going to remember about Fort Dodge in Webster County?
The winter time's terrible. No, I've got to.
We can't deny that. Boy.
First and foremost, I've got to remember the state softball tournament, kind of not only what it means to the softball program and what it means for them to win the championship, and that was special for me to be a part of and be able to call that. But what it means to the city of Fort Dodge in terms of economic growth, and really just being on positive display for the entire state to visit, and what it meant for the city of Fort Dodge to win that state championship. I'm also going to remember, what Dodger Stadium feels like on a Friday night. There's a specialness to that too. I've been to a lot of high school football stadiums around there. I've been to bigger ones. I've been to louder ones, but Dodger Stadium has a certain aura to it that I'm going to remember certainly as well. And, all the nuances, Fort Dodge has some nuanced different things that are kind of unique to it. When you look at like Downtown Country Jam, Celebration, Rib Ruckus, different things that Fort Dodge does that they don't necessarily do everywhere, or they do it differently maybe they do it in other places. So, there's a lot of standout moments here over the course of the last 2.5 or 2+ years for me that I'm going to remember number.
I'm really going to miss you because you come in on the sports talk show that, by the way, will be this Wednesday with Nevin Mulholland and Randy Koolman. And you show those two know-it-alls who really knows what.
You mean tomorrow, as in Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. 4
okay.
o'clock tomorrow if you want to join them.
Okay, I might try to do
tell
that.
them again that they don't know anything. They always want to say, you don't know.
Well, I know you guys normally do Friday, so
Yeah, we do, but I'm off Friday.
Oh, okay.
I'm
okay.
taking some time.
Well, I've got to go. I'm actually going to Ames to do my final football game for Fort Dodge football on Friday night. So,
all right.
So I was going to be on the road anyway on Friday afternoon.
So after that, you're done, right? You're out of here?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do the Saturday news, and then that's it.
You are a workaholic.
Well, here's the thing. If I'm going to do the football game on Friday night, I might as well do the news on Saturday so I can report what happened in all the football games. It kind of makes a lot of sense, right? So that's what we're going to do, and we'll finish up the week with that. And then I'm gonna leave town this weekend and head back to South Carolina and kind of split that. That's a long drive, so I'm going to split that drive up into a couple of days.
Speaks to your character that you're going to work right up until the time you hit the silk.
Absolutely.
Because I'll tell you, a lot of times I say, well, I'm done today.
Well,
I shouldn't say I've ever done that.
And it's one of those things where, it would be easy to mail it in, but it's kind of one of those things where, number one, it kind of is, it's a reflection of me. My work is a reflection of me, number one. And number two, the people of Fort Dodge, the surrounding area, the people that listen to us, they deserve for me to finish as strong as I can. And that's what I'm going to do.
There's people that know a lot more about local news because of you. The messenger doesn't cut it. I'm sorry. The messenger just doesn't cut it. Your insight and your presentation skills have made people listen a little carefully to what we do and what's going on.
I also think too that I don't want to say that they're scared, but I think sometimes when you have these long lasting relationships that some of these people have because they're from here, there's a certain notion that you don't want to say anything that kind of pushes people the wrong way. And like with me not being from here, I don't really have those same notions. If something comes across my desk and that's what's real, I'm going to present what I have to you and try to present both sides as fairly as I can. So whatever you do, and I'm going to report on it. So don't do something that you don't want me to report on.
Well, we'll see what they report on the supervisors meeting this morning because it was a long one. A lot of people spoke. A lot of people had ideas, and I imagine they'll give it a couple of column inches and go home.
Yeah, see, I don't know because I wasn't able to make it this morning. I wanted to go, but I had stuff going on here that I had to tend to. So,
well, the good news is that everyone felt very strongly, and they presented very strong arguments on all sides. I thought I presented my feeling on the issue, and others who thought like me were there. There were some courthouse employees who expressed fear.
Okay.
They have expressed fear over incidents in the past. I understand all of those things. The point is, at long last in Webster County, we had a reasoned discussion, and all points of view were heard and thoroughly vetted.
That's positive. That's good.
That is a very positive. I want to congratulate all the supervisors and thank them because the supervisors meeting went on for an hour and a half. Now that's a long one. So,
I was at a planning and zoning meeting one time that was 2.5 hours.
Yikes.
The one where Kevin Stump was wanting to put the proposed new gas station or travel center over by Colville. Yeah. That one was 2.5 hours by the time everybody got done talking.
Did he get that done or
no? He did not.
Oh, man.
I kind of felt like they weren't gonna move on that. Just because the people that lived over there absolutely did not want it. And if government's for the people, then I feel like, they represented the people's interest in that regard.
Yeah, well, and that's a good thing. That was part of my argument today. Do you represent the people? Do you represent an ideological point of view? Obviously, I do.
Right.
Do I hide this? I didn't know people. Well, that's your position because you feel this way. Yes, I do.
I mean, I honestly don't have a real strong feeling about the situation with that. One way or the other. I can see why you wouldn't want guns in the courthouse at all.
I do as well.
I get that, but then I also can see, well, if it's here now, where's it going to be next year? That becomes
that was my whole fear, was the slippery slope argument. And I brought up to the Webster County supervisors, we had a judge on the bench, who would wear a pistol in his belt
Oh, I didn't
during
realize that.
court.
Hmm.
And every now and then it'd cramp his style because he had to be sitting there all this time and he'd have that pistol in his belt.
So you
He'd
take it
take
off?
the gun out and put it on the bench. So you want to talk about craziness down south? We have our own share.
I mean, I get kind of both sides of it, but I'm just glad that everybody could kind of lay their points out in a civilized manner and have an open mind to it.
Yeah, you're talking to Supervisor Conrad Friday, she said?
I will. Yeah.
All right. Well, Nikki's a great person, and I think we're well represented on the Board of Supervisors. The suckers didn't vote my way today. The only one that did was Dinklaw. But, I continue to admire Sheriff Fleener and everyone there. So,
Yeah, and I think he does a great job. I mean, whatever his reasoning for not wanting guns in the courthouse, I think he's got some solid reasons. I could see where Nikki would not be on board with having guns in the courthouse.
That's not her way.
She's just kind of not that way. But we'll talk about it with her on Friday on my Friday morning show here in the 8 o'clock hour. And we're also going to have a guy named John McCoy on, who represents a group out of Waterloo, who is trying to change the name of Columbus Catholic High School.
I want to talk to that guy myself.
So I actually forwarded you the information.
You did. Thank you for the reminder.
I think that'd be a good segment for you.
Send it again there, will you? Maybe
okay.
I hope I still have it. But
okay, I'll see if I can find it and send it back to you.
Rob, I'll tell you, parting is such sweet sorrow, but I know this is what you want, and I think it'll do you a lot of good in the future. And I guess we'll just keep on moving here in Fort Dodge. And again, you've always got a home here, buddy.
Well, here's the thing. The sun's going to come up
Yep.
after I leave town, no matter what. So everybody's going to keep on keeping on, so to speak. So
yes, they
appreciate you having me, Mike.
You
Thanks.
bet. Rob Jones, sadly, is leaving us, but we're glad we had him as long as we did. This is KVFD Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
The most tragic kind of overdose death is one that could have been prevented. If someone you love could experience an overdose, having naloxone on hand could save their life. Telenaloxone provides free
Oh, I know this one.
Go right ahead.
We use this one on our farm. The answer is Illevo seed treatment.
That is correct.
Woo!
And we'll be right back after this commercial break with our final question. Will the right answer still be Illevo seed treatment? Take a wild guess. BASF, we create chemistry. Always read and follow label directions.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
That's right. That's where we're at. We're broadcasting live from the Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters studio. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters at 612 South 32nd Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters by calling 576-6481. Pleased to welcome to the program once again, David Furich, City Manager. How you doing, big guy?
Great, Mike. How are you doing?
Doing real good. You know, I had a great weekend. I went on an honor flight out to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And, it was very moving. All those great war memorials, some of them actually featuring guns. And
Yeah, I saw your Facebook post. That was pretty cool.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To go out there.
And I didn't know it, but they had a kind of Mel Schroeder and Charlie Walker and Ron Newsman, all those guys are just great guys, and really a labor of love for them to do this because it's work, boy. It's a lot of planning.
So were you a caregiver for a veteran?
No.
You're a veteran.
I'm an actual veteran. Yeah.
Okay.
It's draft dodger. But anyway.
Draft dodger.
Anyway. No, they did a great job, and the best part of it for me, and I didn't know they were going to do this mail call thing, but they got a hold of our relatives and asked our relatives to send things in, kind of welcome home and thank you for your service. So my little granddaughter sent me cards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was great. Love you back. Love you to the moon and back and beyond. It was the same for my grandchildren. It was just,
so what? So you probably went to all three of them: Vietnam, Korea, World War II Memorial.
The guys that I went on one of the very first honor flights from Brushy Creek, and at the time I was media, and those were mainly World War II guys. Almost all of them were World War II guys because they were getting pretty old by that time.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't think we had a World War II guy along with us on this last trip. Ron or Charlie or Mel might want to correct me on that. But what we had is Korean War veterans, and then they wanted to take what they called the tweeners. Now, the tweeners served between the end of the Korean War and the beginning of the Vietnam War.
Okay.
So a bunch of those guys were in there, and the majority though were Vietnam veterans or Vietnam era veterans.
Okay.
So it was a great thing. It's a great thing those guys do.
Yeah.
And, a lot of local businesses, of course, contribute. And big companies here in Webster County and the surrounding area contribute to this. A way to honor veterans, and that's something I'm glad they're doing to bring back the respect that the military, for some reason, has lost since maybe the Vietnam area.
Well, yeah, I think I think the military has gained it back. I want to say something. I don't think people can put this in perspective if they're just in Fort Dodge. Is how we should be so proud of our community for being able to put together and support this many honor flights.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
this was the 20th.
There are 20 honor flights. There are communities way bigger than us that do one and are proud of it, and we've done 20. I mean, it's amazing, and they're not cheap by any means. I mean, they're hugely expensive ventures, and this community to be able to support that level of effort for the veterans, I find I'm super impressed.
Yeah, I am too. 134 went this time, just this time.
Yeah.
Now I don't. I should get a hold of one of those guys and ask how many they've taken over the years, but it's an incredible number. And you're right. For a rural area like this to be able to pull together and put on something or contribute to something like this, and it wouldn't happen again without Ron and Mel and Charlie and a bunch of other guys.
It's awesome work they do.
Yeah, Dr. She was my wife's doctor. She's a female doctor in town. Oh God, but she was along as a volunteer. It was just a bundle of energy, and I know she's in her 70s, but she was just a bundle of energy. Worked very hard. Oh gosh, as soon as you're off the air, I'm going to
yeah.
But I can't believe. Anyway, we didn't have a city council meeting.
We did not.
And
fifth Monday.
That's fifth Monday.
Woohoo party.
I understand the bigger Growth Alliance golf tournament is tomorrow.
Yeah. No, Thursday.
Thursday. Oh.
Yeah.
So half the executives in town will be drunk as hell out of the well, Janet Secor. That's right, Dr. Secor.
Yeah, Janet. Yeah.
I apologize
Dr.
for not.
Secor.
I'm getting old, man. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I thought I lost my phone, and I went over and talked to Dr. Secor. I said, I lost my phone. She said, really? She said, what bus were you on? And I pointed to the bus and said, Mike, you're on the wrong bus. Go check your seat in the bus you're supposed to be on. I went back there with myself. Weird stuff happens to you when you get old. David.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested in what Chip Baltimore is trying to do to us. Chip Baltimore is an attorney, and he is a lobbyist for Mediacom, among other companies. The group name is Taxpayer Protection Association, which is a bunch of nonsense. But I think I told you before, there's a group, a very powerful group in New York City called Citizens for Health.
Citizens for Health.
Citizens for Health. They essentially make sure that we continue to give sugar subsidies to 5 very wealthy families in Florida. Millions and millions of dollars every year. We don't need any of those 5 families to produce sugar for them. Cuba, since we started trading with them again, has more sugar than they want to know what to do with. So Citizens for Health is like the Taxpayer Protection Association. That's crap. Citizens for Health. Yes, we need good, healthy sugar.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole series of broadcasts in itself, is the value or lack thereof of sugar in a diet, and how much sugar is now in a typical American's diet is probably way out of control.
Oh, it is. It is. I have, I have diabetes type 2 because of my sugar, because I was really into sugar, and it was still difficult for me to stay away from it.
Well, and it's in everything, and that's the thing. You don't think you're consuming sugar, and you are.
Yes, sir. That's the truth. Anyway, as far as that, Chip Baltimore wanted all of our correspondence, and I've asked you this 2 weeks in a row now. But by the way, you won't be on next Monday because I won't.
Tuesday, right? Yeah, which is good, because I think
Tuesday.
I think I have a conflict next Tuesday. Anyways, I was going to talk to you about. But if you're not on, that's great.
We're all good then. So, I don't mean to wear you down with these questions, but has there been any progress or in communicating with Baltimore? And
I would say no. I haven't, it doesn't come directly to me. It comes to a staff person, but I haven't been briefed that he has responded and say, okay, here's what I'll pay for that information, and we're going to agree to produce it for him, because it's a lot of information. It's going to take a lot of time to put that together. So we'll do it because we have to. It's a law, but there's certain limits on what people can request and how much time is committed to it, and that people have to compensate us for that time.
Mediacom really does act as if they own us. Somebody's always trying to control our lives in some way, and I resent it personally. But
well, part of that was back in the day when cable television
was a big deal.
When it came to existence, it basically was kind of an all or nothing contest, and the companies that got the franchise for the city, they basically were it, because nobody was going to go overbuild another cable system.
Right.
But, nowadays times are changing, and there's multiple ways to get, data and telephone and TV, and back in the day, it was only TV. It wasn't even data. And, and it's way cheaper to overbuild systems than it was, back then.
Well, I just hope I live long enough to see broadband in Fort Dodge.
I hope you do too, because it's not too far away.
A couple of years, right?
Yeah, I mean, there should be customers. We'll build next year, and there should be customers connected in 23, and everybody should be connected by 24.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, what other city business can we discuss?
Whatever you'd like. You want me to come up with the topics for your show?
Well, I was just wondering if you had one, because I got Kevin Crimmins right after you, and we'll have no problem talking.
Oh, yeah. I think, the most stuff is still moving forward. We are going to have some agenda items on our next meeting, which isn't next week's. The next week's the first Monday, so our meetings are not going to be till a week after that will be the second Monday. So we do have a little bit of break. Well, I think we will have a couple broadband action items, agreements, the final agreements on the loans. So that'll be cool. We'll have our parking ordinance third reading on there. So hopefully, I'm assuming it'll pass, but that'll be I've already ordered the meters taken out. So hopefully that'll be the final vote to actually remove meters from the streets and then go back to 2-hour parking on the streets. And just for clarification, I know I've said this before, but it's probably worth mentioning. We will be putting 2-hour parking signs up where the meters came out. And then also we'll put new signs where the existing 2-hour parking. We're not going to be expanding the 2-hour parking limits to any other of the downtown streets. There's a bit of confusion because the way the ordinance is written, it basically lists almost every street that you would consider the downtown as where 2-hour parking could be. But then the actual enforcement is based on where there are signs, which is logical because how are you going to expect people to follow it if there's no signage? So the actual enforcement occurs where there's signage, and at this time we have no intention of expanding the signage to any areas where it's not 2-hour parking now or existing parking meters. Well, where parking meters did exist a few short weeks ago, I should say, because they're gone. And the poles will get removed. It's a little bit bigger project. I mean, we had summer help just unscrewing the meters and pulling the sleeves off. I mean, that was a pretty simple job, but to actually remove the poles from the concrete, it's going to take a little bit of work. And Public Works will do that when the summer construction slows down.
Yeah, I noticed. I was downtown earlier today parking, and those things look kind of forlorn sticking out of the ground like that. The last roundup. The Fort Dodge Messenger took a real stand this morning. I was surprised, but they advocated for security cameras downtown. Or do we already have security cameras downtown? Or
we are building? We had the contract was awarded by the council at last meeting to build roughly a $200,000 downtown security camera system that should bring cameras to pretty much what you would consider the core areas of downtown, and have where we'll have the ability to to see and record what's going on in the downtown area.
Why was this decision made? I mean, has there been a lot of crime downtown? I mean, there's always little incidents around our town, but I'm not questioning the wisdom of the decision. I'm just inquiring as to why.
Well, someone could have other opinions or beliefs on this. I don't know if crime is substantially worse downtown than in other areas, but part of what Main Street Fort Dodge has done over the years is try to identify things that can make the downtown more of an inviting place. And one of the issues that came up through their research surveying is fear of how am I going to say this the right way? Fear of lack of security, or just there's kind of an uneasy feeling in the downtown. So we think whatever we can do to increase the security, the better. And cameras is a good way to provide some level of observation, and once it's known that about everything done downtown is going to be recorded, that hopefully that'll keep folks from wanting to do bad things downtown, or at least bad illegal things. I don't know if and I guess we'd have to talk with the police chief to really find out where the areas of crime in our town are. I live at 4th Avenue North and 9th Street. I think there's crime in that area. I just I don't know, but it would be interesting to find that out. Yeah, and I'm at a loss for saying whether there's a way to do neighbor. I mean, we have the ability through our software to show where the crime is geographically on a map, but I mean, I couldn't tell you right now, okay, the high crime area is this area or that area. I mean, that's something if we wanted to, we could run a report that would identify, where the crime reports, were taken, where someone.
That's what I'd be interested in. Like a lot of people who want to discuss freedom it's always a little bit of concern when we have cameras everywhere. But the fact of the matter is, we have cameras everywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're it's this day and age, we have cameras pretty much everywhere. I mean, I have them in my house. It's pretty common for people to buy, cameras, and they're way cheap now with the the residential packages you can get for you got a camera on your doorbell is pretty cheap, and put a couple other security cameras or up. It doesn't take too much. It doesn't take too much money. It's not like before where you only see it where people are willing to spend thousands of dollars for home security. It's just not that much. And with the the advent of technology, I can get messages on my phone that tell me people are at my house.
Yeah, I forget to turn my phone off sometimes.
Speaking of phones.
Speaking of phones.
But the security cameras are fun because they'll also tell you when deer are walking through your yard, or raccoons, or when your cat wants in.
Oh, that's okay. But I'll tell you, my security camera. I think I've mentioned this before on air. I was home Sunday night, 10:30, and my Ring doorbell camera went off. And I thought, 10:30 at night on a Sunday, it's kind of cool outside too. So I checked my camera, or I checked the video feed. There was a guy standing out there, probably in his late 30s. I'd never seen before in my life.
It rang your doorbell.
Yeah, and he was standing on my front porch.
Huh.
And I didn't answer the door, and he was kind of looking to see if I was going to answer the door. He was kind of, pretty soon he steps back and he starts talking with a guy who's out of sight, who's out of the range of the camera and can't be seen. And I thought, a guy shows up at my place at 10:30 at night and rings the doorbell, and there's another guy around the corner hiding. What does this mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
seems like they got the wrong address.
I don't think so. I think they were up to no good, as a matter of fact. So I didn't call the police. I didn't have to.
Did you respond verbally over your Ring and say,
"No, I didn't.
I don't know who you are. Go away"?
No, I didn't. I did pay attention. Maybe I shouldn't say this. I did pay attention to where my pistol was, in case somebody came charging through my door.
Yeah.
But I had the phone in my hand too to call the police if I had to do that. But it was just a moment. I thought, it made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's kind of alarming. I haven't had that yet. I mean, the Ring will tell you when people drop off packages. The closest I've came to that is last year a deer was stealing jack-o'-lanterns off our deck and chewing them up.
Oh, really?
But yeah,
that's more likely to happen.
Yeah. I mean, there was one time we were on vacation and the Ring sensed motion, and it was somebody I didn't recognize. And so that got me alarmed. Then I realized, okay, it was our lawn care guy. So that's good to know.
Yeah. I had family stay overnight with me, and the Ring thing went off, and they were concerned. What was the guy that was delivering the paper?
Yeah.
He walked up to the porch and bounced it off the door, and there was a sound, and oh my God, somebody's breaking in. But it was cool.
So yeah, downtown's going to be like a big Ring network, even though it's not Ring. It's not. That's not the commercial product isn't Ring. It's more of a professional type of a system with Zoom cameras and all sorts of
wow.
Yeah, high tech stuff.
How much is this going to cost?
$200,000.
200?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope it's worth the expense.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I hope it does deter crime from downtown and deter folks who want to make downtown an uncomfortable experience for people, because we have a wonderful downtown, and we need to do what we can to have people come and enjoy it.
This is before your time in Fort Dodge, but downtown used to be popping, I'll tell you. You would have caught me on security cameras most evenings. We had a lot of bars, boy, I'll tell you.
Yeah, thankfully for your career, there wasn't security cameras back then, huh?
I'm glad. Yes, thank you very much. David Farag has been our guest. Thank you, David.
You're welcome, Mike.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 429. We're broadcasting from the Blue Ribbon Pelham Water Studio at 612 South 32nd Street. Please call Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters at 576-6481.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for
Pelham Waters, your water pro since 1949.
Do you have questions about your water? What is a whole home filter? Is my softener working or not? Can I get rid of that red stain around the sink? I'm Brian with Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters. We're here to fix problem water. We'll work with you to find the right solution for you. We've been serving the Fort Dodge area since 1949. Let us serve your water treatment needs. Sales, service, rentals. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters, your complete water store.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
That's right. Look, let Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters serve your water needs. I'm a customer and a big advocate of Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters, and we are broadcasting live from the Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters studio at 612 South 32nd Street here in Fort Dodge. Please contact Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters at 576-6481 for all your water needs. Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, is the notorious KEV. I'm talking Kevin Crimmins, ladies and gentlemen.
What's up, Mike?
Local celebrity dude.
Local celebrity. Whatever.
I think you're more recognizable in a lot of ways and probably better known than I. And I've been on the air 13 years there.
Well, I've lived here for 63.
Yes.
Well, close to 60. Close to 63.
Well, I haven't been here quite 13 either. It won't be till November, I think, was when my anniversary is here. But it's getting close enough.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've been on the air here off and on since the early 1980s.
Oh, yeah, I know. We've covered that. We've covered it when we've met. We've known each other for what, 20 years probably? Longer than that.
Longer than that. We met down at Dusty's Corral on a Jerry Lewis Labor Day telethon, and no good came of that. Except, I don't know about Kev, but I don't remember what happened for the rest of the day.
We've talked about that a lot, though.
Yes, we have. Me and Kev involved in a Jack. You want to hear this? Me and Kevin got involved in a Jack Daniels drinking contest. No winner. The only one that won.
There's no winners in there.
There was just no
Dusty's.
winners.
Old Dusty.
I used to like Dusty's. I used to go there fairly often. He always had a country band, And
it wasn't my hangout, but
I know. Did you? Are you too young to remember the Owl's Nest or not?
I was of age when the Owls. Well, I think it might have closed just before I became of age.
I only went out there a few times, but I was totally wasted every single time. So I don't.
It's really kind of tucked back there, kind of tucked back off of Fifth Avenue South, wasn't it?
Yeah, where Payless Cashways used to be. Didn't Payless Cashways used to be out there?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, somewhere back there.
So, yeah,
town's changed quite a bit over the years.
Yeah, it has.
Anyway, Kev Dog and I, and many others, by the way, went to the County Board of Supervisors meeting today out of concern about a new safety protocol, as the county attorney likes to describe it. Actually, it was the meeting was about sanctioning removing guns from the public areas of the courthouse. I thought it was overreach. Apparently you did too, Kev, because you showed up loaded for bear, big guy.
Well, I wasn't there to pick a fight.
I wasn't either.
I really wasn't. I
think
really
we should, before you start, we had a very, very emotional at times, but a very reasoned and respectful dialogue with everyone. Nobody lost their cool. Luke Fleener, the sheriff, made a great presentation from his point of view, and he let us know what brought him to put this before the Board of Supervisors. Today was really a formality. They were going to vote on the safety, what they call the safety protocols. I call it gun banning, but I came away, and of course, I didn't like the outcome, but I came away with, God, that's the first reasoned discussion we've had. How long?
I've met Luke before, just once. I supported him though and voted for him.
Good guy.
Yeah, I think. Hey, you know what? Here's the thing. I thought that maybe it's just the way he looks. I don't know because I've only met him the one time.
Yeah.
But I thought he looked like maybe he was unhappy with me, and I hope that wasn't the case because I actually support him and I support his effort in this.
What do you mean you support his effort?
Because he wants his objective is to maybe make the courthouse more secure.
Right. For the
I support that 100%. I really do. And that's why I hope he didn't misunderstand where I was coming from. They just didn't go about it right, and that wasn't the sheriff's fault. So I have no feelings one way or the other. I think that Sheriff Fleener does a great job. I think that he's going to be great for us.
I think so.
I voted for him. I'll vote for him again.
I will too.
And I support his effort. I agree with everything that he did, other than they went a little too far.
None of this was personal, as far as I was concerned.
Well, no, not at all. And I just think that like I said, I agree with what they did. All the actions that they took, the guard, the metal detector. I just think that they took it to the extreme where it does infringe on our Second Amendment right.
I think so too. That's why we went there.
Yeah, and but that's not on him. And the vote wasn't on him. He took his, as I understand it, he took his recommendations to the Board of Supervisors and the county attorney, apparently. And between them, they came up with their plan, with their resolution, which was vague. That's being kind. But
we're here to discuss safety protocols, and we discussed it in the messenger. Well, who cares? They put it in the messenger.
Well, that's the thing, and people don't go to the Board of Supervisors Facebook page. They don't go to their website. I mean, I can't imagine anyone does.
Well,
no, I mean the public. I'm talking about the public.
The public. Well, from the Board of Supervisors and the county sheriff's point of view, they thought they had covered it, but that's not the case. And I went through this before with a previous county attorney, female, who told me, well, as far as I'm concerned, if there's a messenger reporter in the room, they're the media. No, they're not.
No,
and I'm not
especially not in this.
In this day and age. No. I mean, there's all kinds of places. The people under 40, frankly, don't pay attention to the radio or the newspaper. I mean, the messenger's cutting staff right now because they can't sustain itself. And we're over here, we're down to the barest of bones as far as staff is.
Right. Well, unfortunately, people get their news from Facebook, TikTok.
Yeah, they do.
And the most unreliable places, but that's where it is.
That's what's happening.
That's what's happened. So I thought that they should have made this more public, and they should have taken in more public input. Mike, I want to say this. I've been voting for 45 years.
Really?
Yeah, and I've missed a few because I was unable. I was gone when they voted, and I'm not one to vote early. So anyway, I always stayed away from local politics. I got involved in the 2018 election, and the reason I did it was because it was 2 years into Trump, and it seemed to me like the Democrats had gone off their rocker. They'd gotten so radical, and they, you couldn't. I mean, there was no reasoning. They had their agenda. They had their beliefs, their ideologies, and they were not going to budge. But I thought they'd become pretty radical, and I was afraid that it was going to bleed into local, our local offices, our local elections, and local officials, which I'd always stayed away from local politics because I honestly, maybe I was naive, but I honestly didn't think that national party affiliation played a role in our the local positions here. I kind of learned today that that's not true. I had really regretted that, and I've made a lot of apologies to people that I kind of went after, opposed, and so I've apologized because I really regretted that, But I found out today, I guess I was right. I guess I was right because that was completely political today.
It was
5. I mean, there were 5 supers, 4 Democrats, 1 Republican, 4 Democrats voted for, 1 Republican voted against. And, I think that speaks for itself.
Well, the Democrats have really tried to, the Webster County Democrats, and of course they were very powerful in this county. I'll never forget, I went over and wanted a petition for Rod Halverson's seat. He called me out during a Sertoma meeting that I went to. You might have been in Sertoma.
I might even been, yeah.
Yeah, you might even been in there. But I gave Halverson a tough question. He couldn't answer. He sneered. You know, Rod Halverson sneered at me. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe he had the guts. She said, well, why don't you run for office? And the next day I was in the county courthouse.
I can't imagine why you would ever do that.
But I know I was going to get a petition to run against Halverson. And I think it was the auditor at the time. You know, this is when the Webster County Courthouse was totally Democrat.
Right.
Told me that there were no job openings for Halverson's position. I said, he's a state representative. It's an elected position.
Yeah, that's not a job opening.
It's not a job
No.
opening. And she said, well, you'll have to go down to Des Moines and get the papers or have them send it to you.
Why?
Because she didn't want anybody running against a federal her fellow Democrat.
No kidding.
Oh, that's it. A younger woman came who worked in the office before I left, and the auditor at the time walked away. A younger woman came over and said, "You don't have to go to Des Moines.
Right.
You don't have to. Come back here sometime and we'll give you the papers or whatever." But it was. I just say these things as an example of what can happen when you have one party rule.
Right.
And of course, what the Democrats want is the ability to put people into positions so they can control them.
Right.
And give their
sure. Well, they influence.
And give some of their
influence power.
Influence policy. And get people, we have younger women like Lydia on the city council, Nikki over at the board of supervisors. They could be groomed for higher office, and and they could show their resume. Hey, I was 2 terms in the board of supervisors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And Lydia has been with the Growth Alliance, and she's been on the city council. She's going to run again.
I don't know. I like Lydia. She's a really fine person.
I'm not saying
her husband is a good friend, good friend of my family's. But
I always want to talk about things that the Messenger will never mention in 1,000 years, and this is one of the things that they will never ever mention.
You don't think?
Never. Do you think?
I don't get the Messenger. I haven't gotten the Messenger for years.
Why not?
Well, to be honest, where they delivered it, they toss it up by your front door.
Yeah.
Well, where I live, it's our front doorstep because of condensation or the weather, whatever. It never gets much sunlight. So it was always wet. You'd go out and pick up a soppy rag, every morning. And so I just got tired of it.
Bag now.
Well, that's how long I haven't gotten the Messenger. And that's not anything. I'm not saying anything bad about the Messenger because I haven't had it for years. So I can't really comment on it.
Okay.
But anyway, I just think that I think that they had made their decision. So it was really kind of a complete waste of time to go up there. But at least we, voiced our opinion,
right.
and
I mean,
we were respectful, and I respect all of them. I've known the only member on the council that I haven't known for basically decades is Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
I know all of them. I consider them all friends. Have passed. I grew up or maybe a block up the street or down the street from Bob Thode.
Yeah.
Keith is married to my cousin.
Right.
So I've known him since I was a kid.
Did Thode beat you up when you were a kid?
No, Bob's a friend. He's always been very good to me. And then Nick Carlson, he was a friend of my son's. I've known him since he was a boy.
Who? Is there a guy by the name of Carlson?
Nick Carlson. Yeah. Come on.
Is there? Let me see. I'm trying to remember. There's one guy who never talks to me. Oh yeah, it's Nick Carlson.
Oh yeah, you did say that. You gave him a hard time. No, they're all nice people, fine people,
Yeah,
and I've known them for a long time. And I think
it did break down to a partisan vote.
It did. It really did. And I don't think that they were willing to even consider anything but. And the narrative that they pushed, Mike, was that if we don't pass this resolution as written, then the courthouse will be a sitting duck. And I felt like that adding the armed security, I was for that. I'm for the metal detector.
Mm-hmm.
I'm for the armed security to identify the anyone that's carrying a weapon. I think they should do it like they do at the State House. You know, when you go into the courthouse and you go through a metal detector and it passed an armed guard, our question, and they know that you're carrying a weapon.
Yeah.
You know, that's a pretty good deterrent right there.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think that they created a problem that didn't exist. And, you know,
considering there's never been an incident of gun violence in Webster County history.
Well, of that nature.
Of that nature.
Right.
That's right. Or I should say, in the courthouse. We've had crimes every time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, we have our fair share, you know, but not that type of crime.
No.
You know, and I thought that they could have implemented some really good security, like the sheriff had recommended, some really good security measures without actually stepping on our rights.
Well, Dicklaw had an idea. He wanted people who already had a concealed carry permit, like you and me,
which is issued by the sheriff's office through the sheriff's office.
See, what I keep worrying about, and you know, when I get a little nervous when I see too many Democrats elected to office, for the reason they want to go back to the old days when the county sheriff decided who got a concealed weapons permit.
They don't have that option.
The sheriff is an expert. One of the young deputies, you're younger than us anyway, one of the young deputies came up and said, we're going to trust the expert, and Luke's an expert. Okay, but I know experts who are paid to tell us certain things.
Well, I'm not going to point that finger at Sheriff Fleener.
I'm not pointing the finger at him. I just said it. I don't mean Luke Fleener.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Are you high?
No, of course not.
All right.
I'm being foolish. But you know, that's the thing is I really hope that the sheriff didn't think that I was that I was unhappy with what his recommendations were, because I support that. Mm-hmm. I support those measures of security. I just think that they took it they took it to the extreme.
Very middle of
to where they didn't need to do that, and they all swore an oath to
uphold the Constitution,
exactly,
and the laws of the state of Iowa and the United States.
Well, and you know, one thing about the sheriff is he did talk about the trends. You know, what the trends?
Yeah,
and the trend, the one that he didn't mention was the Iowa trending. When Obama was in and he was going after guns and ammo and everything, you know, really pushing the gun,
right.
You know, Iowa went from a may to where the sheriff had the discretion. It was up to the sheriff. He could issue you a permit or he could deny it. It was up to him. Mm-hmm. The state took that away during the Obama years.
Right.
And made it a shall. They instead of a may issue to a shall issue.
Right.
If you don't have a felony and you are legally qualified to a concealed permit, they have to give you one. That was a loosening of our laws. Well, now look what they've done. You know, now Clinton or Biden gets in there. And we got a Democratic Congress. So what's Iowa do? Iowa says, you know, now we go to a no permit. You don't need a permit to conceal and carry. You can't openly carry in Iowa, but anyone can conceal and perfectly legal.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need a permit. I have a concealed permit, and I will renew that because I like the reciprocity, you know, but anyway, I learned a few things. I personally haven't been to those.
It was a learning. I'll tell you, the ruling class never wants the people to have guns in history. Guns in the hands of the people always threaten the ruling class, and that just freaks them out sometimes. And they want to control that. They want to control us, and just, you know, it's not a good thing. Anyway, Kev Dog, thanks a lot for coming.
Yep, you bet, Mike.
This is AM for you. When are we going to do the podcast? Are you still doing your Kev Dog?
I took the summer off, so who knows? Who knows? I'm getting kind of lazy. Yeah. Oh, I've been
Can't
lazy.
hardly do those podcasts.
It's so much
we
work.
sit in chairs and talk, man. I got that. Anyway, we're in the Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters studio at 612 South 32nd Street in Fort Dodge. You can contact Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters by calling 576-6481.
Grief is a natural part of life. As hard as it is, we must find ways through it and not around it. We at Gunderson's help guide families through one of life's most difficult times, the death of a loved one.